Alpha 7 have been building up to a strong performance this entire time. What an amazing initial grenade. Those are hard to pull off. Straight around the corner. You gain some information, albeit losing a player that way. So it was a questionable play. I think running out from that side without clear.
But now, do spot out a player from Vampires and take him down with a full flush. The good news for Vampire is that both DRS and Gladiators are down and out of this match, which means that everything from this point on is gravy on their point lead. However, they do want to maximize that at every turn. We've spoken about how pivotal it is to get these points on board where you can.
Alpha 7 have been building up to a strong performance this entire time. What an amazing initial grenade. Those are hard.
Opting to not pick up the DBSs for
It's
that late
smart.
game on Raygon XA8. They've still got a whole chunk of points out of this.
It was a questionable play. I think running out from that side without clearing any of Everest or scouting it, considering he is a scout, probably should know that there are going to be players up towards Everest side moving downwards. It just leaves them a little bit weakened. FaZe takes down a bit more. Ikert out, and that'll extend them up towards that leaderboard. 9 eliminations so far found.
7th place overall right now for FaZe. A really important jump as well. Remember, we've spoke about it so much this bubble. If they can keep this rolling, they might be in the money. Move to the main event from this all-star stage, getting that qualification spot. Alpha 7, they've managed to make their way all the way down. They're still on that far side of the road and will have to go a little bit further. Vampire can stay in their compound though, Blaine.
They can hold on, and I think that if you are Vampire now, you gain some information, albeit losing a player that way. So it was Ravenclaw having to take bullets from the back to be right. I think there's guys behind us. So with that information, they most likely will wait for Alpha 7 to be forced in by the blue itself before they play their hand, trying to maybe make Alpha 7 fight against Infinity IQ, force that engagement between the two teams. Because we're out into open ground after this. So Vampire has to make the most out of this situation where they still have the walls around them. They still have the windows to peek out from. Because they need to cause casualties to a lot of teams. Luckily, A7, I think, is realistically the only other team that's going to make it towards the end game with 4 players, other than Aegon and 8. But they are taking a huge amount of damage so far.
Ooh, Falak taken low. Blade also taken away. Very, very difficult situation for Aegon XA8. They've still got a whole chunk of points out of this game. A lot of value found. Shots over towards Mela to pick up yet another one from IQ on the south side. UZM and IQ. 3 eliminations for UZM, 4 for IQ. Falak down with 6 and Blade with 4. Very, very solid entry.
Yeah. I think about Vampires, right? They've played a very good game so far. For Alpha 7, though, in a fielded finish, this is something that we will reiterate time and time again. 4 players versus any other team that has less than them, it's almost a guaranteed victory off the back of that if you play things right. You just have more angles, more refrag potential. So if Vampire want a chance at winning this versus Alpha 7, they need to cut the numbers of that team. They're being really slow with pushing out as carefully as possible. It's less likely that they'll be able to force that engagement between them and Infinity IQ now because Alpha 7 is picking them apart.
Point could go over to Vampire here. It's taken by Senatex. Both teams were looking out that way. Really important to be able to get that knock. Looks like Vampire opting to not pick up the DBSs for that late game in these fielded finishes.
Yeah, it's smart. What is the chance that you're going to be in DBS range, in a fielded finish? You're always going to be on either side of the circle. It's pretty funny, though, the fact that this engagement here probably would be great to have a DBS on board because the team that is most likely to be the biggest threat to you is right next door.
Luke has equipped one of those. The buildings will be littered with those body boxes. We'll have plenty of them in plentiful supply. And you can keep one in the back pocket even in these fielded finishes. Just in case on one of your players. Alpha 7 looking to move through with Infinity further down the hill. FaZe staying alive with Mormon out in the fields, as is on Zen. Hoiger moving through this smoke train. Will get spotted. Actually, a nade is the thing to find it, but the point still goes over towards Carrillo. 9 eliminations now for Alpha 7. As Vampire still holding them out. And the impetus is on Alpha 7 to move here. Vampire are in the next circle.
It's a difficult sightline to play around with as Vampire, and there's little to no utility on side for them. Moving through this fielded area, smokes would have been ideal, but not having nades is crucial for Vampire, because nades over this ridge side towards Alpha 7, who have to move towards Vampire, would have been fantastic. The fact that they really lack that kind of utility is a really big deal. They're gonna have to just go for a full-on gunfight.
We saw Mafioso from Alpha 7 break up towards the Everest side of these fields in order to push Mormon back from phase and allow them a little bit more leeway to go for this fight. You still have Kaidulan crawling his way forwards. Mafioso's still worried about Mormon, so they need to isolate these threats and take care of them. The first one is dealt with, but Mormon is still there on a side swipe. Not really too much utility for Alpha 7 either. Revo might opt to just break out and leapfrog Vampire fully.
Right now, Alpha 7 is lacking on supplies. I thought it was bad for Vampires, but they've got little to no bullets remaining. Revo 40 in the mag, 18 remaining left over. But so is Schweppes. This game has been absolutely dry on resources, and this is where having that secondary in terms of a submachine gun instead of the DBS is really coming into play. It's very, very smart from Vampire, setting up for an endgame.
That crate also a massive blessing. I mean, imagine finding an M249 in there. That's just...
I think they picked up a Groza, in fact.
Ooh, could be even better. Yeah, look
in
at
the
that.
back.
Excellent. Swap out that M4. Tony, plenty of ammo.
See what I mean? They've got nothing left.
This is such a stalemate between these two teams. For Alpha 7 don't want to go ahead. They don't want to go into the sightlines of Vampire, and Vampire are willing to just let them wait.
Man, Schweppes is in such a dangerous position as well, but he needs to provide that information across. Playing around with this bush in front of them, which is likely to get sprayed out. I think Alpha 7 has played this game slow.
Spots.
Bullets are going to be a problem.
And is spotted in turn. UZM moves forwards with the cover, can get the res onto IQ. The zone will crunch them in fairly soon. The first breakout is from Mafioso, and a position in the circle for Alpha 7, meaning they don't necessarily have to go for the fight if they can make that cross.
The thing is for Mafioso, if he gets that vehicle across, he might have actually found a resupply, because he needs to support the team as they move in. Right, and for Vampire, they're going to have to crawl out way before Alpha 7 have to peek over this ridge side, which has provided them so much cover for so long. Fluker steps into the blue. It hits him very, very hard.
Cool. It will do at this stage. Oh, Schweppes, he saw Senatexa. We'll see another as well, Vampire. They have to go for the fight, and Alpha 7 cut them down. The numbers advantage playing for them. You can see the ammo just go completely red. Revo has to go back to the DBSs. Aegon XI8, the duo, still needs to move north, sure, but they've got way more resource.
I think genuinely, Schweppes could probably crawl all the way in. There's no way these players have any kind of ammo to work with unless they pull them over towards this position, because they need to resupply off these crates that are on the floor. Revo just has to get up close and personal with the DBS. This is the killer. And UZM with this AUG, not many bullets left in that one. Groza comes out. Carrillo still holding on. He could win this game, because Schweppes, just off the back of the fact that these players have nothing left in the tank.
He sees him. UZM absolutely sees the player behind the tree. The backstop for Alpha 7 is spotted, and it's Schweppes to pick it up. He's got the Groza now into a 1 versus 2. Vampire to try and put another chicken dinner on the board. A nade goes long. It looks good. Schweppes just about dodging out the way. Gets back into cover and hits the deck. The spray goes wide for UZM. Groza to the back line. IQ brought very, very low. Schweppes trying to heal up with those stims. The more time he can buy, the higher his health bar will go. But pushing forwards, it's UZM out of the grass, and he'll be able to deal the final blow. Vampire pushed aside, and it's Aegon XI8 with a massive chicken dinner here, Blank, putting 22 eliminations on the board.
A disgusting game, and one we did not expect coming through from Aegon I8. They weathered the storm over on that eastern side versus FaZe Clan. This is going to be a record set, and one that's going to be super hard to beat, even for the main tournament.